Welcome, geeks, to another exciting episode of Rockin The Code World with dotNetDave. I'm David McCarter, and glad you're all here. And guess what today is? Can you switch to the slide, Simon? Today is the second anniversary show of the Rockin The Code World. I wish there was a crowd here to clap and everything. So we're going to be talking about, doing this show for 2 years. I don't have a guest today. It's just me and Simon so far, and you all. So if you want to come on the show and say hi and say what you like about the show and say thanks to Simon or anybody else who works on the show, Simon will be putting up the link for you guys to join. And there it goes. He put it in the chat. So contact him and we'll have you come on the show. I've got some slides and some thank yous to do. And then after that, anybody's welcome to come on and show and say hi from, wherever you are in the world, and it will be fun. And I've got some other things planned. I have some highlights to show. Also, at the very end of the show, I have an announcement of somebody I've been trying to get on the show for a very long time. He's going to be on the show next month, and I'll be talking about that at the end of the show. So, anyway, I'm glad we've been doing this 2 years. It's given me personally, it's given me something to do, and also it gives me a chance to talk to you all during COVID and the lockdowns and everything, and it gives me an opportunity to talk to all the awesome guests I've had in the last 2 years. If you look at the graphic on the slide there, those are all the guests from this past season. So I've had a number of awesome. All my guests are awesome. Anyway, I'll be talking about that coming up. So let's get to the normal stuff. Please make sure you put your thoughts and support behind the Ukraine if you can. They're still dealing with this horrible war, and it doesn't look like things are slowing down. Actually, it looks like things are ramping up from the last things I've been hearing on the news. So, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and so we can get over this, and so they can start the process of rebuilding their country, which has been really destroyed. So, and like I say, most weeks, I have a motive. I want to go back to Ukraine because, I've told you all I've been there. I was there in 2015. And I've been trying to go back ever since. I loved, going there and speaking in front of the software engineers there. I loved, learning about the Ukraine and going to castles and stuff like that. I love the food there. They also have the best coffee I've ever had. So strong as heck, but really good. So I've been trying to go back. So anyway, so keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and so we can get this thing over with, because it's affecting the whole world. That's the problem. The next thing I kind of want to talk a little bit about today is this time, 1 week from right now, I'll be at the San Diego airport waiting to get on my flight to come see all my friends and followers in India. Woohoo! I'm going to India next week to go to the CSharpCorner conference, and I can't wait to see you all. I've missed you all during, the pandemic and the lockdowns. We haven't been able to put on the conference, since 2019. And, it was hard for me not to speak all this time. And this will be actually the first time I'm speaking in public, since COVID hit. And, for the first, 6 months or so, COVID started, I was going through some withdrawal from speaking, because speaking is an outlet for me, not only to help you all, but it affords me an opportunity to get out and meet everybody and be social and learn things. And that's something I really enjoy doing. And so since I haven't been able to do that for, almost 3 years now, it's been tough for me personally. So I can't wait to get back and get into it. Simon, if you're there, do you have the video ready? I wanted to show you the promo video that looks like he has it ready. Let me double check. Yes. Okay. if you haven't seen it, I made this goofy promo video. Simon asked me to do it, and I'm going to have him play it now. Geeks. The CSharpCorner conference is back. That's right, geeks. The CSharpCorner conference is back in 2022. I'm so excited to come back to India. We've all been locked down for a couple of years now, so now it's finally time to get back to an in-person conference. This year's conference will be on October 14th and 15th and feature many, many great speakers, including my friends who will be joining me, Joe, Magnus, and Alan. I'm so excited to hang out with my fellow speakers, but I'm even more excited to hang out with you. I've really missed you during COVID, and I can't wait to come back. I hope you'll grab me and say hi, take a selfie. Maybe I'll give you a custom dotNetDave guitar pick or something else, but I'm so looking forward to this conference. So again, join us October 14th and 15th in Delhi, India for the CSharpCorner Conference 2022. Yep, so there's the promo video. Simon asked me to do a video, that's what you get. But I've got some good comments from it, so I think I think people like it. Can you go back to the slide, Simon? So I'm at the conference. So I'm actually flying into Mumbai and speaking at an event there. Then we're going to go to another city, and then we'll be in Delhi on the 14th and 15th and 16th, I guess. And so during the conference at the 14th and 15th, I'll be doing 2 sessions. I'm going to tell you which ones they are right now. The first session I'm doing is Rockin The Code, everything that every .NET developer needs to know about disposable types. This is my new talk for this year because I see way too many developers completely do not understand how to deal with disposable types in .NET and to prevent virtual memory leaks, which are a real thing that happens all the time in .NET. And at least that happens all the time in the teams that I talk to. So I last year I wrote a series of articles because of my frustration with people not understanding how memory management works in .NET. And then I decided this year to turn that into a talk to kind of teach everybody how to properly not only prevent things like that, but also properly implement iDisposable in your types. And then if we have time at the end, I'll show you the tools that I use to find out where those issues are in code. So that's my brand new talk for this year. I hope you all come in and come and watch it. Simon, can you put the link up to people to register for the conference? So if you haven't registered for the conference yet, please go to the link that Simon's going to put up and register now. And because I want to see you all, like I said, I've missed everybody, and I hope everybody comes back to the CSharpCorner conference. It's in a different location this time. I can't remember the name of the hotel it's at. We're not going to the Leela. And so I hope you can make it to the new location because we're going to have a great time. And you get to see me and all these other great speakers. And it's going to be fun. Can you go back to the slides, Simon? Great, thanks. The other session I'll be doing, and I think I've done this in India before, Rockin Code and App Performance for Microsoft.NET. But if you've seen this session before, you're going to want to watch it again because it's full of all brand new benchmark information for .NET 6 and .NET 7. I've been working really, really hard this summer on working on the benchmarks for .NET 6 and .NET 7. I've had some issues getting the benchmarks running correctly. And I think I finally got everything as of last night. I think I've got everything working okay. And so I have a lot of brand new information to show you in this session, including something I haven't talked about, a few things I've never showed in this session before. And one of the last things I'm going to show you in this session, I think you're all going to say, oh my gosh, that's a dramatic performance increase, but I'm not going to show, I'm going to tell you what that is because I want you to come to the session and see it live in person. And And what was the other thing I was going to say about this? Yeah, so code and app performance is something that's super important these days, especially if your apps are in the cloud, because everything in the cloud is charged per how much time you use it. And so if we can shave off even milliseconds, times that by millions of times a day or a week or whatever, that can add up to a huge, huge cost savings. And so, this is one of the reasons why I'm so focused on code performance and application performance these days, because it's super, super important for the cloud. Because I know personally from not only talking to people, but also working at companies, that a lot of companies are in the migration stage of going to the cloud. Some are there, some are not there, some are kind of halfway in between. And so performance is always super, super important. So I hope you come and check out this session too. I don't remember which days I'm doing these sessions, but if you come to the conference, it's really cheap to go. I don't know how many American dollars it is, but it's really, really cheap. So I hope you come. If you live in the area and you can make it, to the CSharpCorner conference there, Simon just put up the link. I hope you can make it, because I want to see you all. And I have lots of stuff to give you, like dotNetDave guitar picks and stickers and lots of other cool things. If you come up and say hi and take a selfie with me or something like that, I'll give you something, as long as I have stuff to give away. So I'm really looking forward to coming to the conference. It's like I said, it's been a long time since I've spoken in public. I'm actually kind of nervous about it, because I haven't done it in years. I haven't been nervous speaking at a conference in a very long time, so I got a little bit of nervous going on. So I can't wait to go. I'm crossing my fingers that all my travel plans will go okay, because I know the travel these days it seems to be a real pain in the butt. I see what people are saying on Twitter and things like that, and I'm not really looking forward to the travel part. But as long as I get to Mumbai on time, I think everything will be fine. So I hope you can make it to the conference. Also, really quick, I want to tell everybody my open source project, Spargin, is out. The .NET 6 version is out right now. I'm working on the .NET 6 and .NET 7 version, which will be out pretty soon. And basically what Spargin is, I've had open source out for longer than most people know what open source is. And Spargin is basically all the common code I've written since .NET 2, and also suggestions that I see people on articles and Twitter and things like that. If I see something somebody suggests to make things better, and I say, oh, that's cool, I'll put it in Spargin. And so that's what I do. So it's full of tons and tons of methods, and I think it's up to 4 or 5 NuGet packages now. But you can go look at the source code. You can download any of the NuGet packages, and I hope you'll check it out. And if you do check it out, please give me some feedback. I have not gotten one lick of feedback for Spargin, and so give me some feedback. Go make an issue up on the repository, and let's add some things. And I always am looking for people to contribute too. So if you want to contribute to Spargin, just let me know, and I'll give you access to the repository. All right. So I want to give some thank yous out, just like I did last year when we did the first anniversary show. And of course, the first thank you I want to do is Mahesh. Mahesh is the guy who started CSharpCorner. He's the guy who puts on this show and the CSharpCorner conference and tons of other things. And I think this picture is actually Mahesh and his daughter watching the first anniversary show. I'm pretty sure, because I think that's what that picture is that he's watching. So that's Mahesh and his daughter at his house. I've been to his house, and that's him watching the show. I think it's the last anniversary show. So I want to say thank you to Mahesh. Mahesh in 2020 came to me and said, "Hey, Dave, do you want to do a show on our platform?" And I said, "I don't know," because that was not long after my best friend and I decided to stop our podcast. And the reason I kind of said I don't know is because I usually end up doing a lot of the work, and it's a lot of work. And so, I didn't really want to get into another thing. But I'm really glad he asked me. It turned out to be really great, and then I came up with this idea for the show, and my whole idea for the show is to do something different. Do more of like an interview show, not show code, and kind of make it fun and invite the top leaders in our industry. And I think I've done a good job at that. I think you guys will have to let me know. But I try really hard to get a really awesome guests on, and I try really hard to come up with topics that you all will enjoy, or topics you need to know as being a software engineer in our world. And so, if Mahesh is watching, thank you so much, Mahesh. I really appreciate you asking me to do this, and I appreciate you letting me continue to do this, because like I said, it gives me something to do on Saturday mornings, and it gives me it gets me to reach out to you all every week, since I'm not speaking as much anymore, and I don't think that's going to change much in the future. So I think my days of speaking every month or every 2 months are over, and so it gives me an opportunity to keep in contact with you all. So if you're watching, please make comments, because I like comments. I don't get a lot of comments on the show, but I know because of the time of day in certain parts of the country, in the world. But please make a comment. So thank you, Mahesh, and I hope we can keep doing the show as long as people keep watching it. And I have some numbers to share with you all coming up, and so I think because people are watching, so we must be doing something right. So, of course, the next person you hear me talk about him pretty much every show is Stephen Simon. He's my producer. Well, I call him my producer for the show. He's the guy who does all the virtual events, on CSharpCorner. He's basically the one-man show at CSharpCorner. If it wasn't for him, none of this would be happening. And he also has a lot of other work he does, like, running conferences in India and things like that. I think he does marketing. I don't know. I'm going to embarrass him and have him come on in a minute. But, Simon, I just want to thank you before you jump on. You've made this, doing the show so much easier on me. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing the show, because, you make the show much more enjoyable to do, because it's less work on me. So if you're ready, Simon, why don't you come on and let everybody see you?
Oh my goodness. Hi, David. Congratulations, second anniversary. Woo!
So I asked Simon to come on the show today because I think none of you have actually seen him on the show. And I
Yeah.
refer to him all the time, but he's like this person that, is off somewhere talking to me through private chats and things. And you guys never get to see him. So here's Simon. He's the
Yeah.
one-man show. He's like a one-man band. It does all these events. I mean, even like what was the longest virtual event you did?
Oh
That was the
my
cloud
goodness.
event, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 11 days, 150 speakers, streaming 18 hours each day. I was dead.
Yeah, I don't know how you can do it, because
Yeah, and remember, David, we closed that conference together. We closed that conference. It's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, because I remember when we did the first code
The code
quality
quality one.
conference,
Yeah,
I
just
was
one day.
dead. It was one day and I was dead afterwards. I was just useless the next day, and you did 11 days, 18 hours a day. You're way young. You're old enough to be like my kid, and so you have a lot more energy than I do. But man, I don't see how any human could do that.
But David, you see, even you have reached episode number 67, right? This is episode number 67.
Yeah,
And when often me along with Mahesh and other team members, we often talk that it's very challenging to be consistent, right? And sometimes you take off, which is okay, but to run a show for 2 years, sometimes people show up, sometimes don't. Sometimes you're in good mood, sometimes you're not. But
me,
to
I'm
do
always in a good mood.
no,
What are you talking about?
but
No,
I
sometimes
mean,
I don't feel good. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, sometimes you're traveling, right? Your health is not good, but still you should always show up and with the same enthusiasm. And even some things that people may not know, but a few things, David, even you may not have noticed, but few things that you do has really helped me. For instance, the way you drop me the speaker's details, right? That is absolutely amazing. Their name, their date and time, their Twitter handles, their bio, what they're gonna talk about, and even their high quality pictures attached. So I literally don't have to do anything, right?
You
So
want to
that
show? Do you
really,
have one you can show? You want to show people what I sent you since we're talking about
yeah,
it?
I can quickly do it. I've done many other shows, David. Right? I can go out. I have worked very closely with Microsoft doing Microsoft Learn events. You are on the spot, right? I have learned so much from you dropping the calendar invites. Let me just go ahead and put it.
Well, I try to make things as easy as possible on people, right? And because if I was running a show, that's what I would want, right? That's kind of how I look at things. Is if I was running a show, if I needed information, that's
Mhm.
basically what I would want, right? And
Yeah,
so
you
that's what I
see,
do.
you have the title of your show followed by the guest name, which really helps me to go ahead and copy and paste it. That's the reason I don't make mistakes in the graphic. Then you have exact date and time. Then you have the speaker's picture. Then you have their title, their Twitter, what topics they're going to talk about, their bio. There's some important links that we put out on C Sharp on the event, and then some also questions that you add. So
Mhm.
you have been so consistent with this format, David, that I have never made any mistake in creating graphics because this format has been so consistent, right? So you may not have never noticed it, but this has really helped me. So yeah, this is good. Apart from that, David, also you'll agree on this part that your intro is one of the best one, isn't it?
I think it is, you
Yeah,
know.
you bet, David. I mean, have you seen other live shows intro? Nah.
And I don't think most people know this, but that intro song that I perform in with three other geeks, right?
Hmm.
I actually wrote that right after I got out of the hospital. And I was,
Wow.
because I was rushed to the ER right
Hmm.
before the show started, back in 2020. I had I don't want to talk about it online, but I had a medical
Hmm.
issue. I had to be rushed to the ER. And, it was getting kind of close to the show, and people were bugging me about the song, and I needed to get the song done. And so, I was home kind of recovering from the hospital. And I wrote that
Hmm.
song, and then I
Yeah.
put it out and I recorded some basic tracks, and then I put it out to the other musicians and they added their part. And yeah, I did all that, not feeling
That's
well at all.
self-composed, right? I've not
Yeah.
seen anyone doing it, and
Yeah.
you have had some really cool guests. And one thing, David, is very unique with your show is you have a very different format. It's more like a video podcast where you just join in and talk about. It goes with the flow, right? Many times, sometimes it is demo, but it goes with the flow. But apart from that, David, you have also had very different formats like panels, right?
Mhm.
You have done panels. You've also done the release of .NET, where you have invited all the folks from the .NET ecosystem on just one show. They would talk about it.
Mhm.
And then you have also come up with some conferences from this live show, like Code Quality, like you've already
Mhm.
done it 2 times. So there has been a very different kind of format and some extensions from the show. So I really love running this show from behind the scene.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of you all, and thank you for that. I like I said, I try to make things as easy as possible on everybody, right?
Mhm.
And and I don't know if most people know. I might have mentioned it once or twice, but I for one really enjoy our chats together,
Mhm.
offline. You know,
Yeah, after
um,
the show, right?
yeah. Everybody out there, sometimes Simon and I talk like an hour after the show
Yeah.
because, Simon and I get on topics and we just don't shut up,
Yeah.
and we
Remember,
talk.
David, the AI gel?
maybe if I run out of stuff to talk about, I'll share that
Yeah.
story. Simon,
Yeah.
there's this story I told Simon that he just loves, and he wants
Yeah.
me to tell people about it, but I haven't done it yet. Um,
Yeah, and David, one thing that you don't know, but folks, when people join the show, but I can actually see them from behind the scene, right? And
mhm,
David, you don't see it, but let me tell you, I've never said this to anyone ever to you, but the moment we play that intro video, right? That bang music, you should see the smile on people's face. The guests, they are so happy, and with
really?
that bang, yeah, I promise, David, the moment they hear it. I can see the smile in their face, and when they join it, they have a very different kind of vibe and energy.
Yeah.
Because it just boosts them up. And when they say you playing over there and other folks, it's just very different thing. I see it, I see them smiling and feeling happy from behind the scenes. This is something that you don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you can see me doing stuff when I'm down in that little tile. Like, right
I
before
can
the
see
show,
you.
right before there's like couple seconds before the show starts, I do a stretch and kind of, stretch my mouth and my arms because I'm going to be using them for the next hour.
Yeah.
And I was going, do you see that, Simon? Do you see me doing that stuff?
Yeah, yeah, I see you. Apart from the audio, I see you. And plus, yeah, David. Before I just drop off and let you take the show. Yeah, I've learned so many. Apart from all this, I would say, I have cheated. I've picked from your show is that I've learned how to ask the last question. What is one thing that you do apart from the coding
Yeah.
and
What
tech
do you do
stuff?
for fun?
This is Yeah, this is such a good question, Dave. It just sets a very different tone, when people have talked all about tech stuff and all, and then you end them with a note that makes them really happy to talk about what they really do apart from coding. I think this is a marvelous question, and this just leaves them with a very good smile on their face. So from sending with the calendar invite to closing the your live show, it is very well planned, and I've never seen any show like this. I've done so many of them.
Well,
So
thank you.
kudos to you
And
all.
thanks. And I do that, I do that question on purpose, because I kind of want to encourage people to have a life besides coding, right? Because, because
Yeah.
we all get inundated with work and trying to learn things, because, coding is not a 8 to 5 job, right? And so, I see people tweeting on the weekends and I'm just going, come on, you guys got to have a break, and so I'm
Mhm.
encouraging people, I've done this my entire speaking career or running user groups and stuff like that is I try to encourage people to have more of a work-life balance because that's really important, because in my beginner days, I wasn't very good at that. I was
Mhm.
work, learn, you know, when my kids were little and I was doing it wrong. I wasn't paying enough attention to the work-life balance. And that can be an issue not only on
Yeah.
you mentally and physically. It can break up marriages. I'm not saying that's what broke up mine, but it could it's so I try to encourage people to do stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Besides coding, right?
Yeah, that's cool. And I still remember from your beginning episodes when you used to talk about dog fooding and all these little new concepts you would add it, right? These days you've started to add some memes, then you add some polls. So your show is not just about talking to the people. You talk about what's happening latest in the world. You talk about your latest articles. You talk about latest polls. And there's so much to be taken away from this, from one episode, David. And I can see so much effort that you add. And I said doing it once, twice, it's easy, but staying consistent for 2 years, hats off to you, David. There's no one
Yeah.
I know who has been so consistent.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
Thank you. I would say that the toughest part of this job, I mean, of doing the show is finding guests. That's and you experience this too with the conferences,
Yeah.
right? It's that's my toughest part, and it kind of goes in cycles. There's sometimes where I have a lot of guests lined up for, months, right? And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden everything dries up, and
Exactly.
I know part of that cycle is kind of because of the cycle of .NET releases.
Release.
I know part of that cycle is because of the different seasons. Like this
Mhm.
past summer was really tough to find people because it was like the
Yeah.
first summer that COVID was pretty much taken care of, and people were going kind of nuts and didn't want to do anything except for go have fun. So that's the toughest part of doing a show, is that.
Yeah.
But you make the show really easy on me. So
Yeah, but I still remember one thing when you talk about the speakers, David. I mean, you have given some of the very good speakers for other conferences, like let's say .NET conference. I would say it's a conference that comes out from your show, right? Most of the speakers come from your show.
yeah,
Also in conferences like Cloud Summit, right? Some of the keynote speakers were from and featured speakers were from your show. I remember Tejas was the one who works
hmm
at Netflix. He was an absolutely great speaker. And
yeah,
then Vitalik Chuk was from your code quality, who ended up speaking in some other events. There's so this your show has benefited to the audience of C Sharp Corner a lot. So uh, it's not just a show; it's just a
Yeah.
big ecosystem.
And I've just remembered that we've raised money for the Voice of Slum through this
Oh
show too,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah,
we've raised hundreds of dollars or thousands through this show,
I think the thousands of
for the
dollars,
Voice of
David. Yeah,
Slum. And
yeah,
and and I'll talk a little bit more about the Voice of Slum towards the end of the episode. But yeah,
yeah,
we've even raised money for the Voice of Slum through the show. So I'm
yeah,
proud of that,
exactly.
because that's it. Helping others and helping the Voice of Slum is really important to me. And so I try to interject. I talk about it every week, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm
exactly.
trying to get people to help out the kids in India. So
Yeah.
yeah. So,
All
and
right,
I'm going to
David.
go
One
back
final
to the
thing.
Voice of
Yeah.
Slum in a couple of weeks. So I can't wait to go back and visit everybody at the Voice of Slum and donate some computers. I've gathered 4 computers to donate to the Voice of Slum because they need laptops for the kids, and so I'm really happy about that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I don't know if you're arranging that, but if you are, thank you so much, because that's, as you know, that's really important to me.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, we will definitely go there. And David, I won't take much of your time. Once again,
Okay.
congratulations for the second anniversary.
Yeah.
I always enjoy hosting your show, and take it from here. Next
Okay. So
half
there's
time.
Simon, everybody. That's
Ta-da,
that's
bye
that's
bye.
my that's my producer.
See ya.
Well, great. Yeah, Simon. I couldn't do the show without Simon. I'm very appreciative of Simon. So let's go to the slides again. And of course, I want to thank my guests. These are all the guests that have been on the show in the last year. And so I can't thank everybody individually, but so I'm doing a blanket thank you right now. I want to thank everybody who's been on the show and willing to come on the show and willing to spend part of their Saturday, with not only me but you all throughout the world. And so I'm very appreciative of my guests, and they've all been awesome. I want them all back, and I hope to get them all back someday. But I try to interject new guests too, as much as I can. And when I can't find somebody new, then I usually go back and invite somebody who's been on the show before. But so thank you, everybody, from Scott Hunter on down, Jeff Fritz, everybody else, for being on the show and going out of your way to help everybody learn to be a better developer and a better human, depending on what we're talking about. Because, you all know that this show can take different tangents depending on what where the conversation goes. Because, I don't have a script for the show. This show is completely unscripted. It's just basically off the top of my head, pretty much. So I kind of do that on purpose. I kind of want to let the show go, based on what the guests are talking about. I kind of want to let the show go based on what you guys are asking in the chat and things like that. So if you script something to me that's too rigid, and I don't know how much value that shows is to people, but you'll have to let me know. So if you all watching right now, if you have a guest you want me to invite, please email me or tweet at me, or however you can get in contact with me, and let me know who they are, and I will ask anybody except for Bill Gates and Scott Guthrie. I won't ask those two because it's not going to happen. So ask anybody else but those two, and I'll try to get them on the show. And of course, the last people I want to thank of all of you watching the show right now, whether you're watching live or you're watching this show recorded, this show is for you. That's why I do this, because I want to help you in your career and in your life, and hopefully, bring a smile to your face on Saturday mornings or whenever you watch the show. And so this show is really for you, and without you, we wouldn't be doing the show. So I just want to thank everybody who's been watching the show. I had Simon run the stats really quick this morning, and in the past year, I didn't know this till today. Oh, there, he put it up there. You blew my thunder, Simon. So in the past year, we've had 234,941 viewers. Wow, that's almost a quarter million people. That's I'd be happy to get 100 people a week, but we're now going up to 20,000 people a week. and I'm just bowled over by the number of people that watch this show. So, Simon and I must be doing something right. And so as long as, we keep getting numbers like that, I plan on doing the show as long as Mahesh lets me. So, and I asked Simon who was the number one, the biggest show of the past season. And that was the show, I forget which number it was. It was the show with Khalid. And which is approaching 20,000 viewers for that one single show. And I kind of understand because, he's very popular. He's very active on Twitter. He's very active, writing and doing videos and things like that. And he has a lot of followers. And yeah, he had the number one show in the past year. So congratulations, Khalid. I'm definitely going to have you back on because I get bigger numbers. Maybe next year I'll invite him back on the show. And so this past week, getting ready for the show, I know we're already getting short on time already. I can't believe it. I decided to go back to some of the past episodes and clip out, and I've been putting these on Twitter, and I think the last one will actually be on Twitter on Tuesday. But I decided to show you as much as we can during the show. But if I can't get to all these clips, or if you missed it, they're all on Twitter, and you can go there. And then I also put all the clips together into one video, which I'll be I think it comes out later today, and you can just watch everything at once. So with that said, I kind of want to show the very first one, which is Bill Penberthy. And we recorded this, I think, right after the war started in the Ukraine. So let's give that a watch if you're ready, Simon.
And I just wanted to follow up with your comments about the Ukraine situation. I spent a couple of years working with an offshore team based in Ukraine, and they were some of the sharpest and best developers that I had ever worked with.
They are.
And I spent some time, just yesterday, trying to get a hold of them, and I've been unable to reach any of them. And so it's things like that make this become very personal for people. And,
that's why it's personal for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to call out and thank you for that because it was something that I'd been thinking about for a while, and I'm glad that you brought it up like that.
Yeah, when I was there, you are totally correct. And after I came back from the Ukraine, I haven't said this in a long time, but after I came back, I was telling everybody I have never been asked questions so hard during a conference talk than in the Ukraine, right? Yeah. They are tough on you. Oh my gosh. I never answered so many times, I don't know, when I'm speaking in front of people than in the Ukraine, Yeah. So I was really impressed with them. And I was also impressed, it's a longer story, but I was also impressed that, 40% of the IT people are women, which we definitely don't have that in America, right?
Yeah, that's a great point because I think there were 6 developers and a couple of QA members on the team. But I think the team altogether was maybe 9 or 10, and it was probably 50% women. And not just in the PM and QA roles, which you tend to see here in the U.S., but
And
hey, while I was watching that, Simon, to me the sound was a little bit distorted. So I was thinking maybe your volume on your computer maybe is a little bit too far up. It's coming through distorted for me, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's the cause. Let me see what Simon is saying. Oh, really? Because it's not distorted when I play it in my computer. But anyway, okay, whatever. So that was Bill. I really like Bill. He's a nice guy, and that was recorded right after I think the war started in Ukraine. So I was talking a lot about the Ukraine. And let me know, Simon, if anybody wants to jump on and talk to me live. I don't know if anybody. So if anybody wants to talk to me live, go to that link and Simon will set you up and we can chat for a little bit. I don't have a lot of time left, but at least come on and chat for a couple minutes. So with that said, let's go to the next clip. This clip is of Billy Hollis, and he was recently on the show. I've known Billy for a really long time. He's one of my favorite people to listen to, and I never miss any of his talks because he tells it like it is, which I really like, and he really knows his stuff on user interface and what users like and things like that. And I was really happy to get him on the show because, like I said, I've known him for a long time, and I really look up to him, especially when it comes to UI things and user experiences, kind of what I'm saying. So you want to play that, Simon?
By people who are more on the HR side of things towards something called structured interviewing. In structured interviewing, every candidate is asked exactly the same questions in the same order. And of course, the intent of that is to try to get some kind of consistency. The problem with it is you're not really going to find out about what's special about somebody. By asking the same questions of everybody. I mean, that technique would work great if people were potatoes. If they were just a commodity that you're trying to grade. But they're not. And I have to assume that in many cases, I mean, the HR people don't know how to interview developers. We're weird, mysterious creatures for them in the first place. And so they seized on this as kind of their way of doing it. And I think there might be a certain amount of laziness in it too, that they don't know what else to do. So they just come up with standard questions and don't try to develop the skill. What I would say to people after interview is it is a skill, and you need to understand it, understand the techniques that you're going to use, understand the questions you're going to ask, and prepare for it. And yeah, I know you got code to write, but really, do you want to be cleaning up a guy's code because you didn't interview him and he got on your team and wrote some crap? I mean, so I think there's just some self-interest for us to learn how to interview better.
Well,
I totally agree with Billy because, I've been interviewing and because I'm looking for a new position, and man, interviewing is so tough right now. It's just so frustrating. So I'm glad to see that at least somebody out there kind of feels the same way I do, especially with those freaking tests people try to give me, which I think are kind of useless. I even was talking to someone last week and I was telling him, the test you're giving me is not going to show you what you want. So I don't know why you're making me go through it. But anyway, if no one's on to talk, or Simon is saying something. Sure, not yet. Not sure he's referring to. So the next clip I want to show is actually from the first season. You'll be able to tell because we did it. It's the Christmas show. And it's with Jeff Fritz. And I asked Jeff Fritz what his job is. And we're wearing us, silly Christmas hats and sweaters. And I put this one on because I think it's funny. So,
principal program manager of .NET Community, and how do I become one? Microsoft.
It's a lot of work.
I do it anyway, pretty much. It's not being paid for it.
So there's junior, there's program manager 2, there's senior program manager, principal program manager, and when we think about somebody who's principal, it's in other organizations it's almost like a director equivalent. Many principal, most of the principal level folks have people reporting to them. I do not yet. I do not currently, I should say.
I'll be the first one if you like.
But there's a level of innovation and product ownership that you have at that point where you own an engagement, you own a product more than just you're contributing to it, but you're providing leadership and influence, and you have responsibility for that thing. Now, as a senior program manager, I've owned ASP.NET Web Forms, I've owned NuGet and managed those. But now there's a level above that I've stepped into now where I own the interactions with several other groups. And now you have influence out of not just your product team, but into the rest of the division. So that's an area that I've stepped into, and we'll see in the next few months here as a couple of my initiatives start to land.
Yeah, and you help with putting on the MVP summit too, right?
Yeah, so I do help manage and coordinate a bit for the MVP program, and particularly I'm one of the lead content. Well, I am the co-lead content planner and manager for MVP Summit for Developer Technologies.
Simon told me during that clip that I look crazy in that clip. Is that what you mean, Simon? I think I was just tired. Probably. Yeah, so that's Jeff. I've known Jeff for a while now, and the last time I actually saw him in person was when I was speaking in Philadelphia, and I'm not sure when I'll get to see him again, but I like Jeff. He's a really personable guy. I wish I had that like radio voice that he does. He's got that really deep radio voice, and maybe that's what I don't hear my voice the way you guys do, but he's got like a radio voice. Like he would be he'd be a disc jockey on a radio station. Since we're running short on time, Simon, I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit. So the next one I want to show, if you're ready, is the Khalid one. What is your niche?
Ask you a question, David.
Yeah.
You're writing articles like what do you feel like your niche is in the .NET community in terms of like, are you a web guy? Are you desktop, mobile, maybe something else?
Well, in my career, I've done everything, everything from mobile to, I had my first website in 1994, when we had to do it in Notepad, me and Carl Franklin were doing our, because I actually piggybacked off of Carl Franklin's server. And so him and I were doing, HTML pages in Notepad back then, but, in the last 10 plus years, I've kind of purposely trying to be focused on the back end more for a lot of reasons, just because, the front end stuff just changes so rapidly. And I kind of wanted to concentrate on one area. Once .NET started getting, bigger, right, where you couldn't know everything, right? Because in the beginning, you kind of couldn't know everything in the beginning of .NET, what they can now call a full stack developer. But I don't believe that's really that true anymore, and so I chose to, focus on the back end but I can do pretty much everything. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like over 15 years, I'd probably say I would consider myself an ASP.NET web developer. I just really love the simplicity of like the HTTP protocol and, just the stateless request in, response back, that kind of stuff. So it just kind of clicks in my head.
So since he had the number one watched episode this past season, I wanted to get at least one clip of Khalid on. Nice guy. I don't think him and I agree with changing the name of .NET. I don't know if you've seen his drop the .NET campaign, but I think this week when he did another tweet about it, I started a new campaign called Drop .NET campaign. .NET has had this name for over 20 years now. There's no reason to change it, Khalid. But other than that, I really like him. Maybe he's just doing it for fun. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him the next time he's on the show. So since what's happened to my screen? So we're almost out of time. So I want to do one more, and that's my guest who's been on. I think he's been on this show 3 times. Simon will have to prove me wrong. The Scott Hunter clip, Simon, if you're ready. Yeah.
What I miss from being in the office is I miss whiteboards. A lot of the best thinking that comes in .NET comes when a bunch of us sit in a room together and just draw on a whiteboard together for hours and hours and hours at a time. And while Microsoft Teams is a great solution for doing remote meetings and stuff like that, it doesn't bring the whiteboard experience. And we have a whiteboard feature inside of Teams and stuff. It's not the same. And so I miss that. And the other thing that I miss is one of the ways that we make .NET better is people like Glenn, Damian Edwards, Kathy Sullivan, Tim Hewer, Scott Hanselman, and myself. Also, we'll get in a room and we'll just write code together.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, let's try to go and do this with .NET today. And the fun thing is we'll move the keyboard around various different people. Like one day it might be me, one day it might be Glenn, one day it'd be Damian, and which means we don't have the domain experience in whatever we're coding. But that's also the point, because
Right.
we're like, why is this so hard to do?
I found that statement really interesting, that, he misses being on the whiteboard, because I hate doing the whiteboard. But because I think my drawing and writing just looks like a fifth grader. But yeah, Scott's been on the show a bunch of times. I really appreciate Scott. He's the number 2 guy there at Microsoft for the programming department. And so I really, really appreciate, someone that high up in the food chain, taking time out of his day to be on my show this many times. And so I really appreciate Scott willing to be on the show. And I think anytime I ask him, he'd probably say yes. And because he's a great guy. I really like Scott. I first met him because when I retired running my user group for 20 years, I asked Microsoft that, to me, that's a big achievement. And I want somebody big for Microsoft to come down and be like the keynote speaker at my retirement party, which is just a couple of blocks away from where I live. And they sent down Scott, and that's where I got to meet him and become friends with him. And he's just a great, nice guy. You would not think he's, that high up in the food chain than he is. But Scott, if you're watching, I would love to be invited to Microsoft to be in the room when you guys are doing that on the whiteboard. I would just love to see how you guys do that, because that's kind of magic to us. We never get to see that. And I would love to be there just one day to watch you do that. Maybe at the next MVP Summit, if you're doing it during the MVP Summit. I would love to see that and to experience just what happens, when you guys decide on what's going in .NET and what's not going into .NET and how it's going into .NET. I would love to experience that, but I'm just a measly old programmer, so I don't know. So again, thanks for everybody that's watched the show. The almost 250,000 people who watched the show in the last year, and I just really appreciate it. And this is the reason I do the show. It's for you. This is, people might say this is my show, but I consider it your show. So the more feedback I get, the better I can make it for you. And so every week I ask you all for feedback for the show, and most of the time I get nothing. So don't be shy. There's no dumb comment or no dumb question or nothing. Just shoot me an email or tweet at me. I would love to hear back from you, and so we can make the show better for you. Like I said, this show is for you. All right, let's get going so Simon can actually go to bed on time for a change. All right, we're almost done. I want to promote, of course, my book, my coding standards book. And, it's the only pure coding standards book out there. And I hope you go pick it up. If your team doesn't have coding standards, this will help you jumpstart your coding standards or be the coding standards, because most companies I go, this is the coding standards book, because I've been working on this dang thing since 2005. And I'm always working on it. When I hear new things, I want to put it in the next edition. So I hope you go pick it up. It's available everywhere that you can get something. You can get it on Amazon. So Richard Campbell, one of my guests on the show this year, tweeted this week. I thought it was hilarious. It's about CSS. This is a meme about CSS. And if you've ever used CSS, you will totally understand what this means, because, CSS is one of those things that everybody hates, but it's kind of like a fact of life if you're doing web programming. I mean, web design. So I've been using CSS forever. I find it horribly difficult to understand, and someone needs to come up with something better, because no one seems to like it. So if anybody's out there has time to kill, come up with something better, because CSS is just a pain in the butt. But anyway, I thought that was funny. As every week, I want to invite all of you to help me help the kids from India. I'm going to go visit the Voice of Slum in a couple weeks. So there's 3 ways to help. You can buy my Code Performance book, and 100% of the proceeds goes to the Voice of Slums for that book. You can go to the Voice of Slum directly, voiceofslum.org, and you can donate money. You can purchase clothing for the kids and school supplies for the kids. These kids really need your help. I visited the Voice of Slum in 2019, and literally it was one of the most moving experiences in anywhere I've ever traveled to in a different country. And because of that moving experience is why I work so hard to try to raise money for the NGO orphanage. And because of your support, I've been able to help them restart the vocational training for women which teaches them how to sew so they can make a living for them and their family. And so, but I need your support. So do any of those things. If you want to help, please help. There's lots of ways to do it. I just gave you a bunch of ways to do it. And because, and that was also my first time like walking around in an actual Indian slum. And as an American that lives in a big city, that was, really moving for me because I just don't experience that where I live. And so, these kids, I met these kids, they said, a couple of them got up and, sang nursery rhymes to us, me and Magnus in English. And they were very shy, but they did it. I thought it was one of the coolest moments of, my visit was the kids doing nursery rhymes. I thought it was really nice. And so anyway, like I said, I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. I'm bringing 2 laptops to donate to the orphanage as long as I can get them set up correctly. Joe G is bringing 2 devices also. So thank you, Joe G, if you're watching or see this. I really appreciate you donating some of your older devices for the kids at the Voice of Slum. So thank you very much. And we're pretty much done except for the couple closing notes. So I'm going to be off for the next couple of weeks, of course, because I'm going to be in India. I won't have time to do the show. So the next show, I'm very, very happy to announce my next show will be on October 22nd with Stephen Tobe. I always pronounce his name wrong. I'm sorry, Stephen. Stephen Tobe. He's the partner software engineer at Microsoft. Basically, he's the man about code performance and memory at Microsoft. If there's one guy that knows pretty much everything about this, is Stephen, and he's wicked smart. And we actually pre-recorded this show because he can't do it on Saturdays, and so we've already done the show. And believe me, I learned a lot in this episode. So, and I made a lot of notes during this episode, which I've actually been following up on since we recorded it earlier this week. So I hope you watch this episode because we talk a lot about things that you're going to need to know for if you're a .NET software developer out there. Also, even though COVID's kind of done, it's not done with us. We're still getting hundreds of people dying every day in America from COVID. So please watch out and please be careful. I just got my 3rd booster shot on Thursday. I wanted to get it before I come to India. So please listen to your medical professionals wherever you are. Please be safe. I don't want to lose any of you because of this terrible disease. And a way to help others, of course, I talk about this every week, is please go donate blood at your local blood bank. All the blood banks in America, I know are in a dire shortage right now. I don't know about the rest of the world, but in America, we have a big shortage right now. So please, no matter where you're watching, please go donate blood. It only takes about 30 minutes or so of your time. One donation can help up to 3 people. And I think one donation, you can actually lose like 1,000 calories or something too. So if you're looking to get your calorie count down, there's a way to do it. And it gets you out of doing work on the weekends because you're not allowed to do any physical work for 24 hours. So there's a lot of good benefits for just donating blood. And I tried to donate blood 2 weeks ago, but my iron was just 1 point under their minimum. So I'm trying again tomorrow. So I wanted to get one last donation in before I came to India, because once I come to India, I can't donate for 3 months because India is a big malaria location in the world. And because of that, my local blood bank won't let me donate for 3 months. It used to be a year, and then it was 6 months, and now it's down to 3 months. And so it's going to knock me out to the beginning of next year from donating. So I hope I get accepted tomorrow, because otherwise I'm going to be really bummed. All right. So please go help your fellow human. And with that, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for everybody who helps me put on the show. Thanks to Mahesh, of course, and Simon. I couldn't do the show without them. Thank you to all my speakers, because I couldn't do the show without them. And thank you to all of you watching the show, because I couldn't do the show without you watching. So please make sure to email me any comments or suggestions to rocketthecodeworld@CSharpCorner.com, or tweet at me, contact me. I want to hear back from you. And with that, I will see you, I think, live in person at the end of October. Thanks a lot.